This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
Greetings to all of you with those Halloween hangovers on this November 1st Tuesday, but things do move on here, certainly in Leafs Nation. It's Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with the Tuesday edition of Leafs Morning Take. How you feeling today, Rosie? Feeling better?
Oh, just shaking off the candy hangover and the trick-or-treating. It's a good night out west here.
We're going to get to something momentarily, don't fret, but a couple things I got to do. Subscribe, smash that like button, leave us a review. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest happening. Again, Leafs back in action on Wednesday when they host the Philadelphia Flyers. Got any thoughts, comments, concerns, or questions? Hit us up in the chat, the YouTube chat down below, and we'll get to them a bit later on in the show. And as mentioned, Toronto back in action. They might dodge a bullet on Wednesday, by the way, because Philadelphia is in action on Broadway tonight, which means no Carter Hart expected for that game in Toronto. Felix Sandstrom, the backup, the expectation so far, but again, you just never know with John Tortorella. Before we jump into everything, though, we got to address something here on the show. So last night, I'm just chilling out, a 3-game slate. I lost my bet, by the way. I had the Carolina puck line, but whatever. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But Rosie fires off a text, and I paused for about 5 to 15 seconds wondering what in the hell he just sent. And no, it wasn't an OnlyFans pic. It wasn't a picture of his toes. Alex, can we put this up, please? So we talked about this to wrap up the show yesterday, Rosie, and I'm not even sure if you remember sending this picture, but we talked about this yesterday. You know, I asked you, are you going to dress up? Because, of course, you got the kids and Halloween and everything's going on in the neighborhood. So you decided to dress up. But my question for you, what in the fuck were you?
Okay, well, that's post trick-or-treating, so I'm not in full garb. But what I've done is, November 1st is opening day deer season. So I go down to the basement, I dig my hunting gear out. I wear that trick-or-treating. It's the warmest stuff I own. I cruise around with a spiced rum, and I'm warm as could be. I've convinced my wife that she looks cute as a deer, so she dresses up like a deer. And then after trick-or-treating, all my hunting gear is laid out, and I'm ready to rock November 1. So that was post that, but I don't know, something going on with trick-or-treating these days where a lot of houses in my community have shots of booze for the parents, and it just gets dragged out till Lord knows when, the trick-or-treating, and kids are getting older, so they don't shut her down too early, and all of a sudden I'm sending pics around like that, apparently.
Yeah, I could only wonder what other pictures you're sending around right now. But yeah, like the context had to be there with this one. I just knew it when I saw the picture, and we won't even address what's going on with the hand there, but it's just more so like, what were you? What was sort of the mentality behind this costume? It makes a lot of sense. We're into the month of November, and that does make a lot of sense. I got to ask you too, your shot of choice. If you had one shot before you died, what would it be of?
Ooh, shots. I'm not a shot guy. I just like to
No.
just go and slow, but I just remember prairie fires. You ever done a prairie fire when you turn 18?
Yes.
Sausage. Oh man, I remember that. Used to have the fake teeth flipper, and after my 18th birthday, I had to go back to the bar I was at and dig my teeth out of the flower bed because they were still there in a pile of
Yeah,
guts.
that'll get you. It's like tequila, right? I think we all had our day in the sun with tequila when we were like 18, 19, 20. And man, I can just a whiff of tequila, I'm done. Like I'm out of there. I'm not even
It's funny
looking
what
at
it
it.
does.
Yeah. What are guys ripping around in the show? Like when you go out, like are more guys, sophisticated? Do they like to like sip on something, or are they just heavy into it?
Same shit as normal, man. Guys will
Yeah.
do wine at dinner. Wine at dinner is always a thing, you always get the guys that you pick the wine and they go through it as if they know what the hell they're talking about. You could get bottom shelf and they're not going to know any difference. But some guys fancy themselves a wine connoisseur. But just normal stuff, and then spiced rum, little rye, vodka, this or that, but mostly beer guys, to be honest. It's same shit as anyone else. Everyone in the show is a good small town Canadian kid, or from wherever they are, and then you got your European dudes, and it's just what you'd expect.
The best thing about going out with show guys, which I've done a couple times in my life, There's always this need, this fixation to order like 70 drinks when there's like 3 of us. It's never made sense in my world. I don't know if you're the same guy, we're the same guy, were your teammates the same type of guy. But you enter the bar, it's either, okay, what do you want to drink? I'll say like a vodka 7, but then they'll show up with 20 vodka 7s, or it's just right to Bobby bottle service where just a bottle of Grey Goose, let's do it. There's never an in between for me.
Well, fuck. I remember the rookie parties, man. But yeah, like they'll order. I don't even know what it is, like Louis the 13th or Louis the 18th or some shit, some outrageously priced drink, and these guys, like always the veteran guys, sit there and sip on their Louis the 18th or something, like $500 a drink or something, and then half of them are just sitting on the table, half drank at the end of the night, just juicing the bill, juicing the tab.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's one night where you actually got to pick one up, a big tab. But normally those guys, yeah, they you go out and there's no shortage of drinks, and guys that are making lots of money are always super what do you call it? They're just really kind, and they're always generous with their picking up tabs and buying drinks and whatnot. And when you're young and you're running around the bars and there's just no shortage of booze and girls are coming along and blah blah blah, you got to stay away from the married guys. They're always trying to hide somewhere because it's just about too easy when the money's flowing around and guys are buying drinks and you're out and about. It's always a good time, but it's what you'd expect.
Generosity is certainly the name of the game, and I do expect that from you when you come down in late January and we rip a couple of my favorite establishments here in Toronto. But a good primer for the show. Again, we're feeling a bit more optimistic than we were yesterday. So let's get over the boards. All right, Rosie, as you see down below with our beautiful graphics, we're going to do some surprises, some disappointments. We're going to look at the month of November because we know the statistics and we wonder if the history can replicate itself from last season with the Toronto Maple Leafs. But we'll start with surprises. You can go first here.
Yeah, surprises. I mean, I can't say I'm too surprised by it because I thought there was a good chance that one of our two goalies was going to pan out. And obviously that hasn't happened with Matt Murray. One game in, he goes down with an injury, known for being injured. You'd think he, would have been on the track to being
A Band-Aid
healthy
for
after.
Halloween.
Yeah, he's a Band-Aid. It appears that way. Hopefully it's not a theme and he can get out of the way early. But Samsonov, for me, you know, coming into the season, all we talked about was goaltending. Like, will we get goaltending? That's our main theme. That's our main issue. Everything else is sound as could be. And, lo and behold, October's over and Samsonov is just as solid as you could ask for. Every game that I've seen him play, he's not even been close to an issue as far as not producing. And watching him in net, he looks square, he looks sound. He's big, he's in position all the time, and he's bailed us out, more than once this year. Games where, he's getting peppered, he's getting odd man rushes, he's getting breakaways, and he's turning a lot aside. I can't think of one game where we said, if Sammy would have shown up tonight, we could have had that win. It's always kind of been the opposite. So I'm really happy with Samsonov right now. He's been solid, and you can call it a surprise or not. He's a first rounder who didn't get the lick that he wanted in Washington, and I don't know what have you seen out of him? I know that your expectations were not high and you weren't a big fan of the Murray signing, but we said, there's kind of that 1-2 punch. If one's not going, at least we got a second chance with our backup, and now Sammy's our starter right now, and he's looked pretty good to me. Are you happy with him?
Oh, very, very happy. And I'm constantly reminded, like, where would this team be without Ilya Samsonov, right? Like, this could have gone completely off the rails, and it did to an extent. I mean, the sky is falling here to start the month of November, yet they're 4-4-2. They could be easily worse without Ilya Samsonov. So, yeah, I'm right there with you in terms of surprises. My surprise is the captain, John Tavares. 10 games, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points. He's quicker, which I think is very, very notable. Hasn't been known for his foot speed in his career, even dating back to his days in junior. I covered him, when he played a handful of games for the London Knights. He wasn't known for his foot speed, even when he dominated at the World Junior in Ottawa. But I just think he's playing with more pace, more urgency. He's been reliable, which I think is a big word to use in Leafland right now, and it's very few and far between. And he stood out, and he's been a power play machine. So My surprise so far through 10 games, John Tavares has 4 goals. All have come on the power play. And quite frankly, I think Tavares and Samsonov by far have been the biggest surprises or standouts, if you will, of the early season for the Leafs. That's how slim it's been in terms of picking. So I've been really, really impressed with both. Disappointments, Rosie, and I'll go first. I think it was easy to pick Marner or Justin Hall or to an extent Pierre Engvall. So I went sort of off the board. I'm taking Rasmus Sandin, 10 games, 3 assists. To me, it was just sort of a big saga situation for nothing, the contract holdout. And then eventually he just caved, right? The injuries and the pressure, I think, internally from the teammates. And I think this is your classic case of trying to catch up after missing significant time in training camp. I just don't think he's looked like the same player. And it's unfortunate because the Maple Leafs have needed somebody to step up, certainly in the absence of Jake Muzzin. And right now, it just hasn't been Rasmus Sandin. Who would your disappointment be so far?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Sandin's just kind of he either hasn't been there or you notice him standing out in a negative way.
Yeah.
Obviously, his pocket was picked there for a crucial goal there. Last game against the Ducks, it seemed like he just didn't notice a guy was on his hip right there and was pretty lackadaisical, last man back with the puck. But I know what you're saying. He's trying to play a little bit of catch up, missed a lot of time. It's kind of funny with a guy that's holding out on a contract. You're not there. Your teammates are doing their thing together and you're just kind of sitting there twiddling your thumbs. It's kind of almost a guilty feeling waiting for
Yeah.
to get your contract and then to come in late. And it'd be nice if he got off to a good start, but I agree with you, he's a little bit lagging, so we'll see what he brings in November. But my picks, Pierre Engvall, um he's just he's frustrating me, man. And I haven't followed the team as closely as you have in the past few years, but I leave myself wondering, what does this guy bring to the table to be in this league and to be on this roster and to have, a $2.25 million salary? Every guy in that league does something extraordinarily well to be in the NHL. And I'm sitting here trying to figure out what that is with Pierre Engvall. Like, can you highlight to me what it is that he does extraordinarily well just to be in this league, let alone command a $2.25 million salary?
I wish I had the answer for you. All I can tell you is that analytically speaking, his numbers have looked good. But I can tell you this season they haven't looked good, and he continues to crack the lineup. So I wish I had a better answer for you because I think you're so bang on. Like the guy's 6'5", but he plays like he's 5'7". So
Yeah, he's one of those guys that he is big, and it's almost like if you're going to be that big, it's almost like a hindrance to you if you don't use it. You might as well be a little Johnny Gaudreau who just buzzes around the ice and as fast and,
yeah,
and compact as possible. The the reason being big is you can outmuscle guys, you can get to the puck first, you can use your body to protect the puck, you can crash, you can bang. He doesn't do any of that. So in my mind, his size is like hindering him because he doesn't use it at all. And he's been put in the press box this year. He's been healthy scratched. You would think that he's got a bit of a wake up call going on, and he's gonna, really show an FU attitude of just emptying the tank every shift, every night, proving that, hey, I'm never going to that press box again. I'm way better than that. And he just hasn't. You'd think he'd show a little bit of urgency to prove to the management and to the coach that he belongs in this lineup and he deserves the minutes that he garners and the salary that he garners. And I haven't seen that out of him. So I've been pretty disappointed with him. And he stands out to me as a guy that I just need a lot more out of in order to be satisfied.
and again, the purpose of this show is not to just rip on guys every day, but I think sometimes you got to call a spade, and I think in general across the board, there's just no urgency. Like it's very similar to me on a Sunday. I play beer league hockey on Sundays where I'm just out for a skate, and I tell the boys I'm here to pick up an assist, a goal maybe, and carry on with my day. And I really don't care what the score is. But the problem is here, these guys are millionaires, and a lot is on the line. There's a lot of stakes on the line, legacy, all that stuff. And they put out dud after dud after dud, and there's just no response. Like, Rosie, can you recall how many times in your career, and maybe you're an unfair example because, again, you just always brought the energy and pace, but can you remember the last time or one of the times where you were a health bomb and you came back strong the next game with energy?
Well, yeah, and I mean, I got healthy a lot of the time, and you want
Yeah.
to. my time in that league was constantly trying to prove myself, trying to, carve out a spot. I was never able to get comfortable and, take a season off or take a month off or take a game off or take a shift off. Um, but to be honest with you, everyone on that roster is constantly trying to mold your career, mold your spot in that league, garner, more minutes, garner a bigger contract, garner a longer contract, carve your way out in that league and make as long of a career as you can possibly have. No one is guaranteed an 18-year career in the NHL. You're constantly trying to get that. And when things aren't going well for you, like you say, the last thing I want to do is start ripping on guys and be this guy
Yeah.
who just joined the media and now I just carve everybody up because no one's good enough for me. That's
Hmm.
not my MO. But when you start off with a season and a weekend that this team has, I'm not employed by the Maple Leafs. I'm not here to blow sunshine and
Exactly.
rainbows and act like
Yeah.
everything's fine when it's not. Hey, we'll make hay when the sun shines. When this team figures it out and starts rolling, man, we'll give nothing but praise. But this has been a bad example. Everyone that doesn't hardly follow hockey is asking me because they know I do the show, what is going on with those Maple Leafs, man? And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, they are underachieving, and we're going to highlight that when that's happening. But you know, when guys come in and and aren't performing, and when things happen like get put in the press box, you certainly think at least you're going to see the effort, at least you're going to see them trying. Maybe things aren't clicking, maybe they're not getting their chances, and things aren't happening for them, but at least you think you would see that effort and that energy brought. And it is frustrating and it's concerning when a guy that you think would at least show you that isn't even showing you that. And Engvall is my example of that. You get put in the press box and you're a health bomb, you're probably going to have a little pissed off attitude the next game, and he just acted like it didn't even happen. So I want to see
Yeah.
more of an attitude out of him, like, hey, I'll show you. And so far that hasn't happened.
Tell you something, if there's a team not to pretend and be fake against, it's probably the Philadelphia Flyers, regardless of the fact that they're going to be in the back-to-back tomorrow night. You know, John Tortorella is going to have that team ready to play. And we transition, Rosie, to the outlook for November. And again, it's important to preface first and foremost, last October, the Maple Leafs played 9 games. They were 4-4-1. Last November, here's the kicker. Remember Jack Campbell went on that absolute tear and heater? They won 12 of 14 games in the month of November. So here's the breakdown. They have 15 games coming up, 9 home, 6 away, 7 versus teams who made the playoffs last season, 13 versus teams 500 or better. They got 2 against the Devils, who are 6-3, and 3 against the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are 4-1. So that's the astonishing thing from the month of October. It was a rather soft schedule, but things are about to pick up in a big way here, Rosie.
Yeah, those numbers are outrageous. Like, look at that change. It's almost an identical
Yeah.
October to what they're having right now. And then the tear that they went on, I mean, wouldn't that be nice if November they they go and put those numbers up? But I wish their schedule coming down the barrel of November was like it was in October, because as rough as it's been, they haven't had a tough schedule. I wish I could say that they're playing contenders every single night and
Hmm.
trying to find their way, and the timing was just kind of shitty for them, but they've been playing fairly soft teams, and like you just highlighted, it doesn't get any easier right now. But it doesn't really matter to me who you're playing. It's what you bring, because if a team like this brings their best, and I keep going back to that Winnipeg Jets game, if you come out like that and the team is just showing energy and that just that wave upon wave type of hockey where everyone's just on the same page, it's very hard to weather that type of thing. There's enough talent on this roster that when everyone's doing that, they're going to be hard to beat no matter who they're playing. But you look at that November they had last year to pull themselves out of a bit of a rough start. I can only hope they do that again, but they got a lot of work ahead of them. I wouldn't bet that they're going to go on that kind of a tear, but all I want to see personally is them start to find an identity, and
Hmm.
play like they're capable of. And I don't know, from what you've watched, have you seen enough of that quality hockey? It just seems like there's so many holes in their game right now, and I think frustration is what I keep thinking of when I watch this team, because it's just like you just know there's better there, and they just have trouble accessing that, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. I think it's just more so the opponents. And I don't have the opponents last October in front of me, but just the fact that It's Arizona, it's San Jose, it's Anaheim. It's these beatable games, and they don't even show up. Like, never mind, play a strong, consistent 10 minutes, but for the most part, they're not even showing up. And again, we don't want to get into that conversation about the coaching or the GM, but like, it's a telltale sign to me where there's minimal response. I expected it all last week, especially after that Vegas game where they were a no-show. We gave them a mulligan. We gave them the benefit of the doubt because they were ripping in Sin City for like 4 or 5 days, but then they just come out flat and flat and flat. At which point you wonder, like, what's going on behind the scenes? Like, if you throw back the curtain, is it Mullet Arena behind there, right? Like, we're at that point with this team where they're just so inconsistent. And just show me you care. Like, lose with dignity at least. And that's a big thing for me too, is like how many losses they've compiled over the last couple of years where it's like it doesn't even seem like they care. They move on to the next game. I just want to see a bit of passion. Like, we say it's the passion that unites us all. I don't see any passion right now, Rosie.
Yeah, I mean, the most passion I've seen is on Twitter, where people care so much about this organization. And,
Yeah.
Like you say, if you're going to lose, go down swinging. If you're just not, if you don't have it and your best isn't good enough and your just roster isn't capable of winning in this league, but you go down swinging, that's one thing. But
Yeah.
this team is capable of more. And that's why I think, the fans and the people that really follow this team and have that passion for this organization have been frustrated, because it's like you guys are better than this. And the majority of
Yeah.
the games, you look at their, when they're hovering around 500, that's kind of like the nice thing about it, because it hasn't seemed like they are even there with, like you say, they don't show up sometimes. And it's like, if you're just trying to find it and you're doing everything and throwing the kitchen sink at them, and it's just not working for you for whatever reason, that happens. And you can live with that when they go down swinging. But it's kind of like, I mean, that game in Anaheim, you could feel it coming. Everyone was just kind of like looking at each other going, uh-oh, is
Yeah.
this happening? Uh-oh, there's another
Yeah.
goal. They tied it up. Oh, thank goodness. They didn't count that goal. Wow, we got away with one there. Uh-oh, they scored again. Uh-oh, we lost in overtime. They're just watching it happen. And you're almost yelling at the TV going, fucking do something. Like, somebody show me something. Like, try to avoid this. And that's the frustrating thing. And again, I don't want to rip on the team, but they know as good as anybody that they're on a skid. They haven't been good enough. They're losing to shitty teams that they should not be losing to. Teams that don't even come close to them as far as talent and ability with some of their high-end players. And as much as we pick apart this roster, it is pretty deep. They have the personnel to win a lot more games. It's just a matter of finding that. So, like you say, I hope behind the scenes they're doing things to address that. And I mean, they are. That in an NHL locker room, they're doing everything they can to win. And it's just kind of that Maple Leafs thing where they're trying to find a formula. And, last year they went through the same start. And like, the thing that you just put up there, those statistics, they found it there in the month of November. So hopefully history repeats itself. But watching, I mean, you can tell me, you've been watching the team for a long time.
Yeah.
What did they do? What did they do last year? Was it visible as far as finding that November vibe? I mean, like you say, Campbell
No.
stood on his head, and we're getting goaltending right now when Sammy's in. So what did they do? What changed for them in November that you saw that really turned around that record?
They just decided to start playing, plain and simple. I think the biggest thing I've noticed too is sort of the stretch passes from the D. Like, they're not playing as a cohesive unit. When the Leafs are playing their game, they possess the puck a ton, and that's the one thing I've noticed the last little while. They're always chasing the puck, right? And that's why it's been so weird to see, because from a puck possession standpoint, the Leafs have been, one of the upper echelon teams in the league, certainly under Sheldon Keefe, and it always seems like the opposition has the puck, and that stems from the giveaways. It stems from everything in between, the poor play, the poor positioning. And I think I just want to see this team play with a bit more pace, and we certainly saw that last November. By the way, we got to get that trademarked on the Leafs Nation shirt. Somebody fucking do something, because it's become a staple of this show. The wrap up is brought to you by our friends at PointsBet Canada. I took a big fat L yesterday, but I did preface by saying I was not crazy about the card. Carolina ends up winning in the shootout, whatever. We roll on. Give me the over tonight. 6.5 is the number laying right now. Minnesota and the Montreal Canadiens. We took the Minnesota puck line last week. I'm going to go with the over 6.5 in this game. Minnesota has played 4 home games. They've covered 6.5 in all those. Plus, I want to put the Halloween hangover into the conversation too. And then on top of that, it's Minnesota's first game back after a 5-game road trip. So maybe they're a bit loose tonight, Rosie.
Yeah, I like that. For some reason, it feels like the overs are hitting these days. I don't know why that is, but yeah, some high scoring affairs. I think that young Montreal team's got some firepower, and they could be playing very loose and firing all cylinders. I could see a 4-3 game easily. So yeah, let's get you back on track here with that pick. But over 6.5, I like.
So I do a betting show for the NHL and that umbrella, and we did a show yesterday with Michael Leboff of the Action Network. He went on to say that the over's been hitting 47% of the time. So there's your statistic right there. But as we know, more times than not, teams really settle in the month of November. And you know this, being and actually playing in this league back in the day, that October is just a goon show. It's an offensive heavy month. And then you get into November, everybody starts to chill out a bit, eh?
Yeah, that's kind of a thing. I mean, everyone's going through their systems and getting used to, the new structure of whatever that team is. It doesn't matter if it's the similar team, similar coach, whatever. Everyone's kind of got a new plan going into a season. So October is definitely a feeling out type of month where you're getting used to new players, new personnel, new systems, new structure. You're trying to fix what you didn't like last year. And yeah, October is kind of a feeling out month. So people should be settled in here in November and start to understand what they're doing for sure. But yeah, looking for you to heat up again. You couldn't miss there for a while. And what do you missed a couple coming down here? I'm not
Friday and Monday.
I'm not ready to say you've cooled off, but you need one.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like comparable to being like on a 4-game stretch where you haven't picked up a point. I'm in dire need of something tonight, even a +1 or something.
Perfect. I like it. It's coming. I like the and you took the over, correct?
Yeah, over 6.5, Minnesota and the
it.
Montreal Canadiens. Let's wrap, Rosie. Again, coming up tomorrow, we're going to have an extensive preview. Toronto and the Philadelphia Flyers from Scotiabank Arena. I could only wonder the reaction in that building if that game goes south, considering, I mean, I think they should be screening for egos at this point.
Well,
remember that? Were you there for that?
No, I wasn't. But I've seen some stuff. I've seen some booze. I haven't seen any jerseys thrown or bags over the head like it's happened. But it was funny. Yesterday, my wife came home from the store and had paper bags for whatever reason, and I didn't really have a costume in mind yet, that anything other than my typical going out hunting thing. But I thought to myself, I could go dig a jersey out of the closet and throw that on upside down. But I actually hate that shit. I didn't actually think about doing it, because I hate that when a team, and I try not to be that guy, but following this team is frustrating. But I am a Leafs fan. I want this team to do well, and I take heat for that out west here, because they're easy to rip on when you've got Flames fans and Oilers fans and Canucks fans out this way. They're easy to rip on a Leafs fan, but I want this team to do well, and I hate it when the fans and the passion of that city and that organization just get straight to the point where they're booing and chucking jerseys and wearing paper bags over their head. I hate that shit. And, I'm pulling for this team, and I want them to do well. And no, this wasn't the October they were looking for, but like you say, November's a new month, and they have been capable of turning it around. So I'm optimistic, and I'm hopeful this team's gonna make a mark on the league here in November. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And again, I'm not going to be on the wagon of tearing this team down every single night. I've got optimism for them. What's your thoughts? You're a little more jaded than I am, and you've been disappointed by them for your whole life, basically, right? So it's hard to do with this organization.
We'll leave it at that. A bit of a tease for tomorrow's show, my perspective moving forward. Because again, we're just 10 games into this season, but we've seen this rodeo way too many times in Leafs Nation. So it's a Leafs and Flyers on Wednesday night. We'll talk then. Remember to subscribe, smash that like button, leave us a review. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. Thanks so much for listening. Take care.